All right, everybody, welcome on in to KBO Chats Live. I'm Sam Pasca alongside Eric Halterman. We're breaking down everything KBO postseason. Another show coming at you. Game one was yesterday. A lot of action. We're going to break that down as well. Should also note that the site, rotowire.com/free KBO is up and going. We got the sites back. Should be great for all your researching purposes on there. Diving back into game one. It was a big one if you like bat flips and you like the Bears. Chris Flexen was absolutely hyped. Eric, what did you see from a very exciting game one with the Bears and Twins?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about the Bears heading into the playoffs is that they had probably the two best pitchers in the league. I don't think there's really anybody who can compete with what Chris Flexen and Raul Alcantara did down the stretch. I think they both had ERAs under 1 in October, or at least over the last 4 or 5 starts apiece. And that was pretty much the story. I think the biggest story in game one, Chris Flexen absolutely untouchable, 11 strikeouts in 6 innings, only 4 hits, all of them singles. The Bears took a lead 2 batters into the game. They added a couple more, but they didn't need him. Flexen was just that good. And I think if the Bears make a run to their 6th straight Korean series, I think Flexen and Alcantara, who we'll get to when we talk about tonight's game, I think they're going to be the reason why. I think we could see a lot more games quite like game one in this next week or two.
Indeed. I mean, earlier this season, we were talking about the Bears' bats, that pitching staff being horrible, but that's really flipped now. A 4-0 game is not really what we expected from the Bears earlier in the season, but we're seeing that now come playoff time. Do you have any big takeaways? Because this is the Jose Miguel Fernandez little bat flip action. Do you happen to see this? What was your biggest aspect of actually seeing some really great KBO playoff action?
Yeah, we got that nice bat flip. I'm assuming that was on the homer there. 2 batters into the game, hit the first guy, and then smashed it over the fence with the second bat of the game. It's interesting to see that from Jose Fernandez, of all people, because he ended the season pretty cold. In his last 30 games, OPS of like 715-ish. Not terrible. 719 OPS in his last 30 games. So not horrible, but definitely not, the leadership you want from your lone foreign hitter, but certainly getting the job done there. One other interesting thing is the Bears brought in Wonjun Choi as the first reliever, which could be pretty significant if this gets to game 3. Obviously, he wasn't viewed as the Bears' number 3 guy. He wasn't even a starter until halfway through the season when Chris Flexen went down with a broken foot. But he was a stabilizing force. He was a big reason why the Bears finished the year with quite a respectable pitching staff after being one of the worst, one of the leakiest pitching staffs for most of the early part of the year. So it seems like he's not going to pitch a hypothetical game 3. It might be Hee-Kwan Yu, who's, I guess, has the veteran savvy, if not the particularly fast fastball, or the particularly strong numbers for much of the season. So if this does get to a hypothetical game 3, that'll be interesting, especially with Casey Kelly presumably ready to go in that one. He won't be able to pitch game 2, I wouldn't think, given that it was just Monday. I'm getting my days all mixed up with the time differences here, but he won't be able to pitch until game 3, and he's by far the Twins' best starter at the moment. So if the Twins can manage an upset, I'm sure we'll get to our predictions for game 2 soon. That potentially is a factor in their favor. But if the Bears keep doing just enough on offense, they didn't have a great day. I mean, only 7 hits. It's not like they were lighting up the Twins' pitching staff. But if they do just enough timely hitting from some of their veterans, I guess a homer in the second bat of the game, I don't know if that counts as timely. You'll take that anytime. But I think if they keep doing just enough and they can have Flexen and Alcantara throw most of their starts, there's a world in which they start 6 of the team's first 7 playoff games. That would require a 2-game sweep here, a 3-game sweep of the Wiz. But it's certainly possible. And the way the schedule's fallen, they could really just ride those 2 guys.
Wow, I definitely want to, as they're lead guys, if not the best guys in the postseason right now. We'll see what Drew Rosinski has to say about that come Korean Series time. But taking a look at the guys on the bump, you got one of the best in Alcantara going up against Wilson. Starting with Alcantara, he was excellent to end the season. 17 strikeouts against just 3 walks, all coming in just one start. The other 2 starts had no walks. And then an ERA under 1.5 over that span. Is he everything that we think he can be come postseason time now? Could he even be better than Chris Flexen, as crazy as that might sound?
I mean, over the course of the season, he was better. Flexen was not bad, but closer to mediocre than dominant before his injury. He had some pretty strong peripherals, but his ERA was, I believe, in the high threes when he went down. Whereas Alcantara, he was mediocre through his first 6 or so starts. He had an ERA of 4.63, but from that point on, just dominant. He had that long streak of, it was pushing, 15, 20 consecutive quality starts. A little bit of a shaky period near the end of the season where he had 4 earned runs, 5 earned runs a few starts later, but he's closed the season as hot as he's been at any point. 3 of his last 5 starts, he gave up 0 runs. In those last 5 overall, it's an ERA of 0.79 and a whip of 0.68, 36 strikeouts against just 4 walks. So this is as well as we've seen him pitching, and he's pitched like a top 3 starter in the league, I think, for basically the entire year.
Yeah, very impressive. Also do want to welcome in some viewers, DX, longtime KBO Chats viewer, and welcoming in some playoff time, some brand new stuff from Anonymous. Moving over to that Bears offense, it's good. It's experienced. In terms of the top 3 batters, they can be very scary. They all had 5 or more hits in their last 4 games to end the regular season. Are they someone that could easily get to Tyler Wilson like early in this game? Are we looking at them maybe getting to double digits because they only scored 4 yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll touch on Wilson soon. Really kind of a mystery which Tyler Wilson's going to show up here, but a run of strong lefties, Jose Fernandez, Jailo, Jaewon Kim, 3 good left-handed hitters all in a row. It's got to scare any righty other than the most dominant ones in the league, which Tyler Wilson has not been even when he was healthy and good this year. A lot of the Bears weren't all that strong down the stretch, though, as you mentioned, in their last few games, they were picking it up. Fernandez, like I mentioned, just a 719 OPS in his last 30 games, although he only struck out 4 times in that 30-game stretch. So there might have been a bit of batted ball luck there, although he doesn't really strike out ever. He's a fantastic contact hitter, has been his main calling card. The homer that he hit was a little bit out of character. He's only a modest power guy. Jaewon Kim, also, he was hitless in 6 of his last 7, so he was a bit shaky, although I guess he doesn't fall in that top 3 that you were talking about. They actually got a lot of help from the bottom of the order in game 1, and Subin Jung, who was down in the 8 hole, he ended the year quite hot, an OPS over 1,000 in his last 13 games. So they've got guys up and down the lineup. It's really the top 5 or so that are a cut above the rest, but it's a pretty deep group of 5. And again, a left-handed skewed group also gives them an added boost against a righty like Wilson.
Yeah, a lot of lefties in this lineup. And Wilson, getting to him, he is not looking like he's going to have a good day. First start in over a month. He can go 7 innings, but he can also give up 7 runs. He did that twice this season. His average pitch count has been 93, but first start in that month, like I said, don't know how much they really want to run him out there. What are you expecting from Wilson tonight? The good version or maybe the mediocre version?
The fact that he's out there seems to hint that they expect he's going to be at least pretty good. Again, it'll be his first start in just over a month. He made one very short start at the start of October before being shut down for elbow inflammation. He was not good down the stretch either before that injury. In his last 7 starts, he had an ERA of 6.05. But again, when that's right before an injury, you kind of wonder, was the elbow starting to bother him? And then it became a big deal in early October. And then if that's the explanation and it wasn't just that he had lost his feel or something like that, that's in some ways the injury you could view as a positive in that if he's back, he's apparently healthy and he should be the previous version. But it's not as if the previous version was dominant. Before that stretch of his last 7 there, it was an ERA of 3.82. That's perfectly acceptable. A guy you're not at all embarrassed to throw out there. 135 whip, fine. But these don't compare with Alcantara's season-long numbers. I mean, Alcantara had an ERA of 2.54, a whip of 1.03. So even the good version of Wilson, I think, has been a tier or two below Alcantara. But it's who the Twins have to turn to. The Twins have depth in their rotation, but really it was only second half Casey Kelly who was anything close to a dominant arm. So I wouldn't be surprised if Wilson is only asked to go a few innings here. He has been throwing in rehab games in intra-squad action, but we're not sure exactly how many pitches. And I don't think with this being a do-or-die game, I don't think they'll push him too much. They've got some other starters, mid-rotation starters like Chen-Hyun Jung, who hasn't yet thrown in the playoffs, I don't believe, and Cheng-Yu Lim threw just 18 pitches in the wild card game on Monday. Those are guys you might expect to start. I might have expected actually either of those guys to start game one instead of Min-Ho Lee, who was not particularly good. The rookie gave up 3 runs, didn't complete the 4th inning. So those are 2 guys who I wouldn't be surprised to see handle multiple innings behind Wilson. But again, the fact that they brought him back indicates that unless they're dumb, but sitting here, no reason to expect that's true. So the fact that he's out there indicates that they think he can give him at least a respectable number of innings at something that's at least better than their other alternatives, who generally they finish with ERAs in a similar range, but I think they expect Wilson to be that guy who can have a mid-3s ERA when he's fully on.
All right, so pretty optimistic because he is back. But we'll have to see. First start in over a month. It's going to be tough for him to face that loaded left-handed lineup of the Bears. Before we get to the pick, got to talk about the Twins offense. We talked about them throughout the entire season being one of the most balanced teams in terms of pitching and hitting. When we look at the lineup, you really talk about 2 guys, Roberto Ramos and Hyun-Soo Kim, who did not have good game ones. Kim 1 for 3 with a walk. All right, that's fine. Not quite star numbers, but you'll take that. But Ramos, 4 strikeouts. Are you worried about him right now? I teased it in the tweet here that maybe he's not quite healthy. Are you worried about him hitting in the heart of the lineup for the Twins in a do-or-die game?
Yeah, I believe he only played in 1 game in October. He was out with ankle issues, came back for a game. It clearly wasn't working, so they shut him down again. And he's played in 2 playoff games so far, and he's hitless in 7 at-bats with 5 strikeouts. Does have a walk and a hit by pitch, but certainly not what you want to see. No reason to believe he's at full strength. He's done this before. Early in the season, he did. After he had that incredible start, he had some ankle and back issues. And immediately after he came back, he had a pretty extended slump. It wasn't until pretty late in the year where he was approaching early season form. So that might be another case where they bring him back when he's healthy enough to play, but not healthy enough to play well. I would have liked to see even 1 hit in those first 2 games to have a lot more confidence in him. But man, five strikeouts and 7 trips to the plate. You can say small sample all you want, but that's not close to good. You'd think a healthy Ramos, some of that might not be health. Maybe it's just spending a month on the sidelines. His timing's off. Big guy with a big swing. You'd believe it might take a bit more time for him to get his timing back, but it's nowhere close to the Ramos we saw early in the year. So until we see something from him, I don't think there's much reason to believe that he is that guy at the moment.
And very concerning considering the Twins were shut out. They only had five hits in that last game 1 compared to 10 in the wild card victory over Kiwoom. Definitely concerning offensively for the Twins. Moving now into picks. This is DraftKings Sportsbook. What do you have? The total set at 8. Slight favorites for the Bears. Who are you going to go with for the game 2? Bears, I don't want to say winner take all, but no, it's Bears win, they win, or force a game 3 for the Twins.
I am definitely going to go Bears here. Just no reason to have any doubt in Raul Alcantara. Again, really, really strong season all year long. Really big step forward for him, too. He had an ERA, I think, of 4.01 as a member of the KT Wiz last year in his first season in Korea with a pretty middling strikeout rate. And then suddenly this year he jumped to be one of the best all-around arms, one of the best strikeout arms, too. Strikeout rate, 22.9%, one of the best among qualified pitchers. So just no reason to have any doubt about him. Plenty of reason to have some skepticism about Tyler Wilson. Again, I don't think he's going to get lit up. I don't think they would have brought him back if he's nowhere close to what he was early in the year, but first start back from arm trouble is a big worry. The lineups are pretty similar when everybody's on, but when Ramos is off, Hyunsu Kim also, it's actually been an extended slump for him. He's just 2 for 9 in the playoffs, and in the month of October, he had an OPS of 584. So when you have the 2 best hitters from the Twins, it is a deep lineup. Other guys can step up, but when the 2 best guys are that far off and there's questions about the starter, I think this one pretty firmly leans Bears.
Going Bears in the total. We're going to see another shutout here, another like 4-2, 4-0, maybe 3-2 game, really low scoring.
Yeah, I mean, the way Alcantara has been pitching, again, 3 of his last 5 starts, he didn't give up any runs, and I believe in the other 2, he gave up a combined 3. So I'm not expecting him to give up more than 1 or 2, and I don't think the Bears are going to get 7 or 8. So I am going to go under here, despite the over-under being quite low.
Going under 8, which is always risky in the KBO. And then I would think you'd also take under the first inning total for a prop here. Even though we did see 2 runs, courtesy of Jose Miguel Fernandez, in that first inning with that home run, you're going to go over that half run. Do they score in the first inning or no?
I'm going to side under. I could see, again, if you're skeptical about Tyler Wilson in his first start back, the Bears jumping on him right away makes plenty of sense to me, but in any given inning, I don't necessarily expect a run, so I'll go slight under there.
Going under. And finally, a score prediction. They have the Twins team total set at 3.5 and the Bears at 4.5. What's your score prediction, and is that over or under 3.5 and 4.5?
I think pretty close to 4.5 to 3.5, but I don't think it'll be that exact score. That seems pretty unlikely. I'll go 2, I think, for the Twins. Let's go 5 for the Bears. So cutting it pretty close to that over-under. Again, with that over-under being so low, if Wilson absolutely blows up, it's pretty easy that the Bears hit that all by themselves, which is why I'm a little bit more confident in that over, despite expecting a low-scoring game overall. I do think a respectable 5 or 6 from the Bears seems pretty likely. And, man, it would surprise me if Alcantara gives up more than 2. The bullpen could give up some runs. Bullpens always can give up runs, especially in the KBO. But in the playoffs, you're throwing your better arms, too. So I think even after Alcantara leaves, I wouldn't expect the Twins to add too many.
All right. So lines updating there. And that's all we got. I like that. Tyler Wilson, I think he can blow up early, even if it's not in the first inning. I'm not too confident in him coming back into KBO playoff baseball against the hot Bears team after not pitching in a competitive game for a while. So I like those picks under first inning and taking the Bears to win game 2 in advance for the KT Wiz semi-playoff start. So that's all we got. Be sure to check out rotowire.com/free KBO for our stats, which are fully updated, and the lineups as well. Got all the drawings here. You can find all that and more on the site. I'm Sam Pasco. That's Eric Holterman. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys.